Hey, Peace Star family. I'm back with another lunar cycle video. This is Michael from oneskyastrology, and we're going to be looking at the lunar cycle starting with the new moon on the 20th of July 2020. That new moon is going to be taking place in the stars of constellation Cancer. So we're going to be looking at this lunar cycle, the main points in the lunar cycle, from the point of view of true sidereal astrology, also called constellational or astronomical astrology. And in this kind of astrology, we're going to be using the exact size and location of the constellations in the sky, as opposed to an approximate zodiac. And what that means is that the signs are different sizes, reflecting the number of degrees that the constellations actually take up. Let's take a look. Let's take a deeper dive. We're going to look at the new moon, the waxing quarter moon, the full moon, the waning quarter moon, and just take a glimpse at the next new moon following this one in August, just to get a sense of how to align with these energies, what we're looking at, what we might want to prepare for energetically, and so on. Now here we are in Cancer, and Cancer is the stars that are associated with the moon. The moon is the ruler of Cancer. So the moon is at home, Mercury is in its own stars of Gemini, Venus in Taurus, which she is given rulership of, Neptune in Pisces, Saturn sort of on the Capricorn cusp. It is in the vicinity of its own stars, Capricorn, and Jupiter at home in Sagittarius. So we do have 6 planets, 5 planets in a luminary at home this new moon. So we may see some very potent expressions. We may see some strong expressions. We may see empowered expressions. And just like last cycle, I'm going to leave that up to you. If you want to research that a little deeper and see about the effects of, just for example, Jupiter in Sagittarius, check that out. I'm not going to focus on that here because there's just a bit much going on elsewhere in the heavens. The new moon and the full moon sun will be in Cancer. So with the moon here, for the new moon, obviously that's a conjunction. So the moon and sun are in Cancer. The full moon will take place in Capricorn, and the sun will still be transiting Cancer, which makes the theme of this lunar cycle definitely Cancerian and of the nature of the Cancer-Capricorn axis. So this is an axis which is cardinal. It's cardinal water in the case of Cancer and cardinal earth in the case of Capricorn. And the cardinal stars are great for starting new cycles. So one way we can align with this lunar cycle really positively is to set the intention, especially around that new moon, and really set the intention to make a change into a new pattern of maybe emotional behavior. Maybe with Capricorn and cardinal earth, maybe something in the real world. Do something new, start something new. A perfect marriage of that Cancer-Capricorn axis might be to start doing something new that helps you process your emotional energies. Or start processing your emotional energies in a different way, perhaps incorporating physical activity, exercise, the body, expressing emotions in the real world. This is the theme of the Cancer-Capricorn axis. We also may see themes around the dichotomy between home and work. That's a big theme here. Cancer representing home and the family, Capricorn representing service to the world, our place in society, and that sort of service. And with Cancer being the main energy of this lunar cycle, we're going to see the expression of feelings and emotional processing. We're going to see an emphasis on the family and the home environment. We're going to see an emphasis on the feminine and the maternal elements of the psyche and of experience. And we're just going to have an energy where the sun is in the stars of Cancer, which impart a feeling, a stamp, a sort of essence of caring and nurturing. So it could be an emotional time. It could be a rather emotional time as things go. And we are looking at the possibility of some of those emotions being somewhat heavy due to this very close opposition to Saturn here on the Cap-Sag cusp. So also conjoined to Pluto and Jupiter. So there are oppositions made from the new moon to all three of those bodies. Here in late Sagittarius, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn have been lining up to really give 2020 its main stamp, its main flavor. That tasty 2020, oh my gosh, the structure of everything is changing. Pluto, change. Jupiter and Saturn, big time worldly power, the structure of power. Especially with Jupiter, you see our vision, our worldview, our philosophy, our sort of philosophical orientation to the whole thing. And in the stars of Sag, you see that same theme of worldview, philosophy emphasized. So all of this changing with Pluto's conjunctions, they're changing. The world is shifting under our feet. It's been a major theme of this year, and that's signified here in the sky mainly by Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. Also very much part of this recipe for the global situation that we're experiencing now. Eris in Pisces squaring up to this power trio, the power trinity here, and Eris being an outer planet signifying confusion, syncopation, strife, upheaval, the need for the lowly to be recognized, and bringing a certain struggle and strife that can only be channeled, in my experience, as work. Eris will make you work. And this Eris, this force of chaos, has been square up to the entire development from the time in January that Saturn and Pluto went conjunct for the first time to now, and it just stations retrograde for this new moon. So Eris, this force, which, I mean, I think everyone can see the effect of Eris square to the shift in the amount of general discord, chaos, disinformation, misinformation, lack of any kind of centralized approach to this, what's a global scenario, Sagittarius, Jupiter, involving sweepingly involving the whole planet. We just see the effects of Eris here with chaos, with just the struggle that comes from all of this. Everybody being on a different page, everybody being set against each other, divided so mercilessly and set against each other. All of this I see very much as primarily the influence of Eris. And this is the important point I want to make. Eris will be stationed in the sky. So as planets move through the sky, they move in forward or apparent retrograde motion. And when a planet's stationed retrograde, it's moved forward to its forwardmost point and is going to then go into apparent retrograde motion. And at that time, it stations, it's just sitting there in the sky. It's not moving a degree, it's just sitting there still. And when you see this, it tends to impart a really heavy stamp, a really, like a nice brand on the situation, because it's not fluid, it's not in motion, it's just like burning itself in. All the other planets are kind of like there's a flux, there's a transition, there's a sense of fluidity. When a planet is stationed, it tends to really take an interesting expression. So we want to watch out. We want to watch out for confusion. We want to really double check our facts. We want to develop ourselves, especially with the influence of the stars of Pisces here behind Eris. We want to develop ourselves logically and make sure that what we're basing our actions, our decisions, and our influence on others on is logically sound and coming from the point of view of the highest good and of service to others. These are the higher aspects of Pisces, and the logic balances Pisces intuition. What we're looking at here is the sun and moon and new moon setting off the cycle, setting the tone of the cycle in Cancer, and making opposition to the structure of power as it changes, the structure of the world, our vision, our view, the practical, the real world, the actual brick and mortar stuff of it all. We're looking across the table at that. The conscious mind, symbolized by the sun and moon, is sort of looking in opposition at all this. So we get a chance to take a good, solid look. And I want to encourage you with the stars of Cancer behind all this to look with your heart. Look with your heart. You know, the ideas are often questionable. This is a matter of recognizing our connectedness to others, Cancer, recognizing our compassionate role in upholding and caring for each other as a human family, Cancer-Sagittarius axis. This is a time when we're being asked to care for each other. This is a time when we're being asked to take into account our own ability to be empathetic, compassionate, and of a healing nature. Sagittarius and Cancer are both passionate stars. This opposition here, this axis that we're looking at for the new moon, pitting Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn against the luminaries. And I want to be really careful with my language, because even though it sort of pits them against each other, it does set up a diametric opposition. What it's doing is connecting them. It's giving them a chance to talk to each other, to interface with each other. And with the opposition, we often see obstacles. Often we do see a sort of tension around, yeah, there can be a little struggle, there can be a little jockeying or back and forth as the whole situation balances and we reconcile these opposites. But Cancer and Sagittarius aren't so much opposites here. They're actually both very passionate stars. Cancer's passionate emotionally, and Sagittarius is passionate in a very inspired, very zesty, very exploratory, very just very broadly lust for life kind of way. And Sagittarius gets passionate for truth, and Cancer gets passionate about the family. Cancer gets passionate about others. Or T squared by Eris, stationed in Pisces, we're likely to see a stamp of confusion and delay, and that's likely to demand work. It's likely to demand effort, even struggle and strife, like I was mentioning. There's going to be a major Eris effect with the station there. So what I see is that the conscious mind in Cancer, the sun and moon, and the force here, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, of social organization, especially here, if we want to break Jupiter and Saturn down, we can see that Jupiter is about the philosophical, it's about expanse, it's about hope, it's about faith, it's about our view. It's about how we hold this whole thing and how we envision it. While Saturn tends to be about the structure, the actual real world, the bones and bricks of this thing. And by this thing, I mean the social structure, These forces broadly affect us all. With Saturn, you find authority, you find restriction, and Saturn rules disease in Vedic astrology. So we see just a bringer of obstacles, a kind of bringer of struggles. And we're bridging these here. This is what the theme of this lunar cycle is functionally about. This is the main stamp that's going to be left on the whole thing. And how are we bridging it? We can channel this constructively by working, that's Eris, by channeling the tension, that's the opposition, into work for the benefit of society, for the benefit of others, that's Cancer, for the truth, that's Sag. We can work to channel the energies that we feel constructively, channel them productively. This does have the potential to be destructive. Eris is, in no uncertain terms, usually active where we aren't looking. We usually aren't aware of Eris in the psyche as it acts. I've come to read it as a major key to the shadow, a sort of primal chaos. And it's talking about the need to recognize the shadow. So to be doing this deep inner work, this work of the heart, this work of reconciliation with an ever-changing situation and an emerging new world. There's some other things going on. I want to say that Neptune here in Pisces does form a helpful bridge by trine and sextile. So in this opposition, in our dealing with the themes of reconciling our ego, especially our hearts, with the changing situation and the emerging new structure of the world, we do have Neptune on the Aquarius-Pisces border, which is very inspired, very visionary, very dreamy, and very empowered with insight, intuition. This is a time where we may be benefiting from leaning into that. Anything that manifests to us in dreams, anything that comes to us through spirit or just through intuition, we can see that Neptune and the force of our psychic or intuitive inner dimensions is going to be poised, aligned during this cycle to help us through the fundamental tension of it. I did mention all of the planets that are at home in their own stars, and then I did say look it up, and that's kind of shabby. I want to say with Mercury and Gemini, we may experience enhanced thinking and communication. This may be with squares to Mars and sextile to Uranus, really radically advanced and of the nature of higher orders of thinking, even genius. With Venus and Taurus, we may find that we have access to self-appreciation, self-care. We may have a particular fondness for luxury, relaxation, downtime this cycle. This is going to be a great cycle to take some downtime. Whether you look at it from the point of view of channeling all this stress and tension into work, or you wait until we've taken a look at how the whole cycle and some of the other points break down. Going to be great to tap into this Venus and Taurus. Just find a nice comfy chair and a satisfying book, and be sure to take care of yourself, nurture yourself. With Neptune in Pisces, again, with the spiritual insight and intuition on the Aquarius cusp, we may see really progressive, really forward-thinking, forward-looking kinds of inspiration here. And Jupiter and Sag, we're going to see that optimism and hope. We're going to see the emergence of, I should say, the continued emergence of a people's movement, of a ground level social movement for just more equality and equity, across racial, social, ethnic, all of these more or less artificial or constructed boundaries within society, our sort of modern caste system, if you will. Jupiter in Sag is going to move to just sort of level that playing field, and Eris squaring it is going to act further to disrupt those hierarchies, interrupt and restructure. Check out the waxing quarter moon. There are some pretty awesome stress relationships here that the moon is making from Virgo. Virgo already a highly anxious, pretty high-strung, stressed out set of stars. Yeah, so we see a T-square to a Sun-Saturn opposition. That's one thing that the moon is doing here. And squares from Virgo to a Sun-Saturn opposition are just really gonna manifest. I think that the waxing quarter moon is the point in the lunar cycle at which the expression of the cycle starts to emerge. And I think the expression of this cycle may emerge out of stress and tension. We see an opposition to Uranus indicating an explosive quality backed by the stars of Eris. We see sesquiquadrate aspects to Venus, sesquiquadrate aspects to Neptune. And basically the moon is not supported by any bodies making harmonious relationship. It is in Virgo, which is a set of stars that is careful and meticulous. It wants to help. It wants to do good. It wants to, they're good stars. They want to make the world a better place. Virgo's great stars, but prone to anxiety, prone to stress. In this case, with the moon here, we may experience emotional stress around just, you know, the tension of everything going on as we, the sun, the conscious mind, integrate the situation. This is going to be kind of pulling our emotional worlds in two directions here. But it will pass. It will pass, and that's what's important. Mercury moves into a position here too with this waxing quarter moon of opposing Pluto and Jupiter, and that actually may bring some intuitive insights and a drive to discover solutions to the problems, especially because Mercury is back. If you remember last month's lunar cycle video, Mercury went retrograde and is now direct again, still passing over Sirius. So for the second new moon in a row, we have Mercury on Sirius. And if you remember last month, Sirius and Mercury combined to give a really ingenious spark, a very innovative, very successful kind of stamp. And this is where Elon Musk has the degree of his Mercury. So this governing thinking, reflecting thinking and communication, you know, very brilliant. Sirius, brightest star in the sky, and this Mercury here also is connected by square to Mars Chiron, conjoined in Pisces. So we could see continued progress in the area of healing. Again, that Mercury sextile to Uranus, expressing higher orders of thought and genius. So even through a situation which may express itself as emotionally tense, there's still a lot of promise for the possibility of progress. I think this will have a positive effect. And quite possibly we may see some breakthrough discoveries. We have all the right aspects here to Mercury. We have aspects to Neptune, Uranus, squares to Mars, squares to Chiron, indicating sharp thought that's inspired, forward thinking, and of the nature of breakthrough. Chiron connects it to medicine. So not at all bad given the need for a medicine treatment for progress to be made on so many fronts when it comes to providing for the people of the world right now. Continuing the new moon theme of channeling this all through work ethic, Virgo does have a great quality in that it can channel these frustrations through work and service. Watch out for overload here. Virgo tries to fix everything. There is the possibility of breakdown, anxiety to the point of crisis, and I want to caution everybody, just don't get into too much heavy self-analysis at this time. But really, the best thing to do if you're feeling the kind of weight of emotional tension and crisis around the time of the 27th of July, 2020, just wait, because this is going to pass. This influence is going to pass, and we're going to see the full moon. And here we're looking at a Cancer-Capricorn axis with the sun in Cancer, late Cancer now, Mercury also in Cancer. So heavy Cancer flavor to this full moon, but the moon takes place in Capricorn. And in the stars of Capricorn, we're in the neighborhood of Saturn. These are the stars of Saturn, and they impart a serious, somber, pretty disciplined, pretty patient approach to things. And that approach is often kind of tinged with a flavor of conformity or social authority, that sort of thing. So the theme of this full moon could be interpreted as reconciling the heart, that's Cancer, and its emotional concerns with the kind of practical grind of progress. The kind of Capricorn is just that slow grind of the world moving forward. Quite often its priorities are impersonal, and that can often be really hard. The moon is very personal, very inner and sensitive, and this cycle originated in the stars of Cancer, which are very, very, very innermost and sensitive when it comes to their expression. And here for the fullness of it, we're in Capricorn, which by paradoxical comparison is really about the kind of cold and at times punishing, like I said, grind of the world. Saturn and Capricorn are a kind of ruthless and an impersonal force in our psyches. We do see for this full moon a T-square from Uranus in Eris, and this is an innovative, freedom-forward, revolutionary energy. This Uranus is the one who catalyzes change, and it's the one that moves things forward explosively. With Uranus squares come anxieties, so there could be a further expression of just sort of nervous tension around this time. And with Chiron's sextile trine to the full moon, so we're sextile to the moon and trine to the sun from Pisces, bringing the theme of healing and medicine into this cycle further. We have a possibility of healing, and especially of spiritual healing with Pisces. All in all, this axis, the tension of the full moon, is between the energies of Cancer and the energies of Capricorn. And I talked about that earlier in the video, but the basic paradox here is that we need to reconcile the very, very personal, the very intimately emotional, our vulnerabilities, and the very, very stark and cold, impersonal reality of just the need for the world to move forward. And it's really been a theme. If you look at a lot of the situations that many of the countries on the planet have had to face, they've had to put the health of their people on one measure and the health of their economy on another measure, and just see, like, how does this weigh out. And that's that's something that I think on an inner dimension we're going to come up with, come up against this lunar cycle. We may be forced to look at how we balance similar themes, but in our inner worlds, in our inner psyches. Another thing that Uranus holds is the deep mind. Uranus holds a stamp of our karmic history, and this is an interesting cycle because the South Node, really having to do with how we hold the past, how we relate to the past, is the South Node is passing the galactic center. Keep in mind the South Node is going to move opposite to the direction of the other planets. The North and South Node move clockwise, while the planets move counterclockwise. So the North Node is with Venus here, and that's going to give us a sense of, moving into the future, looking at what we like, what we want, what we appreciate, establishing our values. But really the South Node going over the galactic center, and that's the galactic center is Sagittarius A star, the supermassive black hole at the middle of the Milky Way galaxy. This is a big reset point, and I think we may see a culmination as the South Node passes the GC, a culmination of the change in how we regard our past that's been unfolding throughout all the stress and tension of this year. And I'm not speaking only as a US citizen, but really this is a planetary thing. We're moving into a new world, whether we like it or not. And it's organizing itself in front of our eyes. We can take part. We can hold on and run with this thing, or we can get dragged. The South Node passing the GC, I think, is going to really upturn. It's going to really upturn our relationship with the past. I think we're going to get a new look at it. I think we might see some things that we need to see about it. And I think we may be able to reconcile our relationship with it and the hold that it has on us as people. So that's an interesting development. The South Node being connected to the karmic past, and Uranus being connected to the deep mind, or the inner subconscious where past life memories and deep experiences are held. So all of this is an interesting, is casting an interesting light on the lunar cycle. Looking at the waning quarter moon, we finally see the cycle start to even out and take some more harmonious expression, because you can see a lot of the stress relationships, the stress dynamics have eased up. Mars is with Eris to square this trio, the late Sag gang of three, but the moon is in very harmonious relationship to it. So here we might make some inner peace with aspects of it that had been maybe hitherto unavailable, and we may feel inspired. We may feel spiritually inspired with through connection to Neptune in Pisces, and from Leo the Sun makes a trine up to Mars Eris, meaning that we may feel more inclined, more harmonious when it comes to dealing with some of the stressful, more aggressive emotions, some of the chaotic uprisings in our inner emotional field. All of this might be something that we're well poised to process. And that's great because the waning quarter moon, with the moon here at its 3/4 phase, has gone around from full and is now in its last quarter. And this is a time when we start winding it down. This is a time when we start letting go. We start looking back to the past, to this last lunar cycle, back to back to the 20th of July, and we see what works, what doesn't, what worked, what didn't, what we want to change, what we want to keep. We're in a phase of the cycle where we can enjoy the fruits of it, the intentions that we set when the new moon was back in Cancer, the fruit, the harvest that we picked when the full moon was in Capricorn here. Now we're just starting to let all that go and make way for the next new moon. And here the strife and tension of the cycle may pay out in the form of the moon trine up to these guys, and the sun is trine Mars and Eris, as I mentioned, and these trines to the luminaries are a signature, which leaves us pretty well poised to do important work around accepting and forgiving. We have all this Pisces action that is expressing itself, and this is really about the spiritual principles. This is really about service, surrender, accepting, forgiving, recognizing our own spiritual needs, a big Eris theme, Eris and Pisces, making our peace with the world. We have that Pisces Neptune with the dispositor at home. All of the planets moving through Pisces are thus kind of empowered by an even more pure expression of the energy of those stars, and even more, you could almost say even more intense. I think you could say an even more intense expression. So there's a lot of possibility here. If we've been through struggle this lunar cycle, let's take this last quarter moon, put it down, move forward, forgive, and move on. So there's a lot of opportunity here for personal growth. There's a lot of opportunity for reconciliation. There's a lot of opportunity, especially early in the cycle, to really just not quite feel right. And as the cycle moves on, I think we're going to feel better and better as you move toward the next new moon on the 18th of August. We do see much more harmonious signatures here with the sun and moon. Also Mercury very close to Regulus, so it'll be a strong Leo moon. Mars and Eris will be together, so we will be trying up. There will be work to do. There will be work to do to create this new world, to take part. It's just what the conscious experience of humanity, sun, moon, is being asked to do. The work here around the development of a new world. We're being asked to get involved. That is just a glimpse ahead. I want to be really clear. We're looking ahead to the new moon on the 18th of August 2020. So this is a whole lunar cycle ahead. We do see for that new moon the south node going exact on the galactic center, and this all happening in a grand trine to Mars Eris. So a lot of work to let go of the past, a lot of work to shape the world in the way that we choose to get involved and shape it. So that's what we're looking at as we move toward the next new moon on the 18th of August. This lunar cycle, starting 20th of July, could be a more challenging cycle. All right, my friends, thank you for watching, and until next time, and as always, I wish you the very best. Goodbye.